Hey, what's up, Scopers? This is Pimpin' Donks, and I got another video for you. This is going to be a 90-man knockout tournament on full tilt. These are sit and goes, and I got some interesting ideas for you on these 90 mans. But first of all, the video is going to be kind of long because these do take some time to play. And the first part of the video is going to be a replay of the hands, and then we're going to switch over to live format. I've had a lot of feedback from that, and it seems you guys like that, as well as I've had some requests for these 90 man. So I think this is going to be a pretty popular video. Um, and it is going to be quite lengthy because these do take a while. The last 51 minutes of this video is going to be actual live play of me finishing the tournament at the table. So we're going to go through this first part as quickly as possible to cut down on the time of the video. And as you can see, the first hand here is 4-3 offsuit. But before we get to that, a couple quick things on these 90 mans. Um, First of all, because of the knockout, this is a $52 uh, buy-in tournament, which is the highest they offer on Full Tilt. And in fact, I requested that they offer some higher stakes ones, and I'm glad to see that they finally started to do that. Um, but if you have a person who has only like 90 or 100 or 200 chips, they're really short stacked, and you get an $8 bounty for knocking them out. It's important that you go ahead and try and do that because the bounties actually are quite a large percentage of your return on investment in these sit and goes. So a good player will get 1 to 2 bounties on average per tournament, and it makes up a large percentage of the ROI. So a lot of people are multi-tabling these and they don't pay attention to when someone's all in with like 200 chips. If you can go ahead and isolate that player, put in a small raise and get it heads up between you, you have a good shot of getting more than your fair share of bounties. So that's something that you need to watch for in these tournaments. And you may notice someone else trying to do that as well. And if you have a decent hand, you can go ahead and re-raise them because you know they're going to be raising with a lighter range, trying to get it heads up with the person who's all in. So there's some interesting dynamics that come up in those types of situations, and we'll obviously keep a lookout for those. So let's jump in here now with the 4-3 offsuit. I'm in the big blind for the first hand of the tournament, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this play out. You can see there's a raise to 90 and a call, so I'm just going to fold here. So I'm going to go ahead and skip the rest of this hand. Alright, so now we have King 9 offsuit in the small blind, and there's a limp, and I fold. I'll quickly pause. The reason I fold, okay, well, there was a raise in front. Alright, so that's an easy fold. If it would have limped, I may have called there, completing the small blind, but it is pretty marginal. But I probably would complete there because we are deep stacked. When you're All right, let me pause that. I have another point that I wanted to get to. When you're deep stacked in these tournaments, you start with 3,000 chips, and the big blind is only 30. So it's basically like you're playing a cash game. You have 100 big blinds, and for those of you that are usually just sit and go players, it can be you're not used to playing with bigger stacks like this. And what you need to try to do is always remember that you need a big hand to play a big pot, and you need a small hand to play, or to play a small pot, you want to have a small hand. So when you just have one pair, like top pair, you don't want to be playing for stacks usually with that unless you're up against a fish who, is willing to stack off with third pair, and just a complete moron. But usually you're going to need, two pair or a set or a flush or a straight to be playing for stacks early on in the tournament. And it is nice to get an early double up, but basically you're going to be playing pretty conservative at the beginning, and you'll see that as we play out. So I'm going to unpause the action. All right, so now we have a limp and a call. I fold Jack 10 suited on the button there. I probably should have called that. Again, when I was playing this tournament, I was multi-tabling, and sometimes I just will push the fold button in close spots like this just to minimize the amount of hands that I'm playing at one time. But I probably should have called there, so that was a mistake on my part. Jack 10 is definitely good enough for a call there, and with the deeper stacks that we have here, I definitely should have called there. All right, so now we have a garbage hand 9-4 offsuit. I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna fold that, and it is a fold. Okay, I'm just gonna skip over most of these hands because the big action happens at the end of the video. All right, so now we have a real hand. We have ace king. I raise it up to 3 times the big blind early in the tournament, and everyone folded, so that's fine. All right. Okay, we have a min raise now and a re-raise, so I know I'm going to be folding king 5 there. And you can see we got stats on the players on here as well, which is nice. As you build up your database in Poker Tracker or whatever software you use, Hold'em Manager, you will have stats on people already that you've played with previously, so you have an idea of how they play, which is nice. In here, so we have a limp, and this player is isolating. He could be doing it with a wide range of hands. He could have a good hand as well. Um, but here we have king queen offsuit, and we're on the button, and we're deep stacked. So again, I think this is a pretty good call here, and we have positions. So obviously we want to see a flop with it. And this flop, we flop an open end straight draw on the top end. We may also have live pair outs, meaning that if I hit a king or a queen, it could be for the best hand. So at this point, I definitely want to at least see another card. The problem is the person in front of me pots it. So, and then there's a call as well. So I'm getting actually pretty good odds here to call. I like to just shove it though, because I do that for a number of reasons. First of all, I do have a backdoor flush draw as well with the Queen of Diamonds. I have an open end straight draw on the high end of it, and I also may have live pair outs as well, and I also have fold equity. Now, early in the tournament, I don't usually put all my chips in on a draw, but I think there's a good chance here that I'm going to get both players to fold. This Michael Dinsey guy was the guy who made it 165 preflop. This John 534 looks not like the greatest of players, playing 32% of hands, and he limped in and then called an over 4x raise, and now he's potting it on this flop. I think he's going to have something like a jack some of the time, a flush draw some of the time. He's almost never going to be just potting it with a set or with two pair. He's going to want action. So I think he's doing this with a marginal hand, and I can get him to fold a lot. And after he folds, this Michael Dinsey guy is going to fold a high percentage of the time because he's not representing strength here. He could have a set here and be slow playing, but the odds are he when he makes this call, he has a draw, and he's just going to fold as well. So I like to jam it. It's an aggressive play, and I'm using my fold equity and obviously my suck out equity when they call, and they both do fold. So I pick up a huge pot, uncontested, 2,400 chips, and again the aggressive play pays off, and I pick up a nice pot. So we're going to continue on. All right, the blinds did go up, and another factor in these tournaments is that the blinds are it is a turbo, um, which isn't much different than the 45 mans, but it is slightly different. The 45 mans have 6-minute blind levels, and these ones are only 5 minutes, so it does go slightly faster. But again, you start with twice as many chips, so there is still room for play. And at the end, antes actually kick in as well, which is different than the 45 mans. And we'll make adjustments accordingly to that. So here with 3-7, I'm just going to move on to the next hand. Alright, so we haven't gotten a playable hand in a few. I'm just going to keep moving forward until we get to a situation that uh, is interesting. Alright, so here we have a person make it 3.5 times the big blind. Again, though, I have pocket nines and I'm in the small blind. This player is raising from middle to late position, and he does steal a lot. You could argue for me three betting here, but again, when we have deeper stacks and I'm up against a weaker opponent, I just want to keep the pot small. And when I do flop big, then I do want to obviously play for stacks, and my opponent will be willing to go broke with top pair if I hit a set of nines here. So again, I'm just keeping the pot small and uh, looking to play big pots when I have big hand. All right, so we definitely have a big hand here. Uh, there's 690 in the pot, and I have both of my opponents covered. Queen Jack is obviously the nuts here, but I'd be willing to get it all in on this flop. Even if they do have Queen Jack, I'm going to improve to a full house third of the time. So I definitely am willing to get it in here. The question is, how do we do it? I could lead out here. Leading into a pre-flop raiser when you hit a set is usually a good play. Um, in this case, though, my opponent's c-bet percentage is 89%, so he's going to be c-betting this flop a huge percentage of the time. And when he c-bets, this player may decide to call, and then I can go ahead and either call and slow play or check raise. So I'm getting more money in the pot. I think checking here is the best play. So I did check, and John 543 did check as well, and the short stack actually overbet, shoved. So now my decision is, do I want to just call or do I want to raise and put this player, John 543, all in? Um, and since I have a huge hand here, I think the best play is just to call because I want to keep John in the pot. And he may stay in the pot because he's not a great player, as I mentioned, and he wants to try and get the bounty for this player. So by me just calling here, he may decide to call with a like hand like ace 10 maybe, thinking this guy's bluffing and I have a flush draw or whatever. He may stay in with pocket eights if he's not a very good player. So I think just calling here is the best play. He does fold though, and my opponent shows me pocket threes and is drawing basically dead. So I take down another good pot and eliminate a player and get a bounty for that. Alright, so here I call. I want to again be playing pots with the weaker players at the table, and I have position and I have a decent hand, so I think a call is warranted here. I could raise to isolate and try and get a heads up with John. However, uh, I elected not to. I mix it up. Sometimes I would, sometimes I just call. In this case, I just called and it got raised behind me, so I'm definitely going to be folding. Okay, I fold the big blind there with a 7-6 to the early position raise. Alright, I elected to fold ace-10 offsuit under the gun, which is most of the time my standard play. Sometimes I'll raise it, but usually I'm going to be folding there. Alright, it folds to me in the small blind. I just fold the 8-3 offsuit there. Again, being out of position for the entire hand is a major disadvantage, so I elected to fold it. Here on the button, I raise 10-9 suited. I fold it to me, so it's a pretty standard open for me. And I got called by the small blind, and he checks on a queen 5-5 board. This is a good board to c-bet because I can represent that I have a queen in my hand, and it's very unlikely that it hit my opponent. So I'm going to c-bet here, and he folds, and I take it down. Alright, here I have ace jack in early position, and I elect to open it up for a 2.5 times the raise, and everyone folds, and I take it down. Alright, so I fold king 10 suited in early position there. Alright, here we have an all-in from uh, pretty short stack. He's got slightly over 10 big blinds, but I imagine he's going to be shoving pretty wide here. So this is a pretty tough decision actually. With ace-6, it's probably slightly ahead of his range, and I don't remember what I did, so I did fold. So um, with the bounties, it's really close. You have to weigh factors such as, yes, you want to get the bounties, but you also want to finish in the top 9 to make the money and make the final table and have a shot at winning the tournament. So calling an all in with ace-6 offsuit there, the best I could hope for is if he has like king queen or king jack or some hand like that. I'd be about a 60 to 65% favorite. And with any ace, he's going to have me dominated. If he has a pair higher than a 6, it has me dominated. If he has ace 2, I have him dominated, but we're going to be splitting the pot very often because our kickers won't play. So I'm not a big fan of calling all ins with weak aces there, so I elected to fold. All right, so the blinds have went up. They're now at 160 for the big blind, and we still have a pretty good stack. We got 6,800 chips, and we're doing well. Uh, we're definitely not guaranteed to make money at this point, by no means. The average stack when you make money in these, I believe, is around 20,000 chips to make the money. Sounds about right to me. Obviously, you can make the money with less chips than that, but you want to. That's kind of a target you want to be trying to get to in these 90-man knockout tournaments. All right, so next hand we fold. All right, we have a 4x raise. I'm definitely going to be folding Jack 8 here. Okay, I like to raise Jack 8 here from the small blind, and my opponent folded, which is fine. I mix it up with hands that I open, obviously, from the small blind. All right, now I have made a slight adjustment in my game that some future videos that you've seen of mine is slightly different. I used to always just raise 2.5 times the big blind, but as the tournaments progress and get the blinds get bigger, I've started making raises slightly less than 2.5 times the big blind. And the reason for that is because I still get the same amount of folds that I get when I'm making 2.5x raises, meaning the big blind and small blind still fold the same percentage of the time, yet I'm risking less chips. So anytime you can risk less chips and still get the same folds, you should definitely be doing it because it saves you chips when somebody three bets you and you're forced to fold. So instead of making a 500 here, I'm making it 450 to save me 50 chips anytime I have to fold. All right, so we've just been playing pretty solid poker. Um, Anytime we've played a big pot, we've had a big hand, and we've stole some blinds, and we've managed to run our stack up to 7,000. So now here with pocket kings, I make the same raise, 450, and I get a call from the big blind, and he checks, and I c bet this flop, and he folds. Now I could check it back on this flop, but I'm going to be c betting this flop when I have ace king, when I have jack 10, when I have pocket tens. And I'm going to be c betting this flop almost always. So I'm going to do it when I have pocket kings as well. So that balances my ranges. By doing that, by checking here, I'm also giving a free card. If he has like ace 10 or whatever, he could catch an ace. He could be on a flush draw. He could have pocket twos and hits a two on the turn. So I don't want to be giving free cards here. I just want to c bet it and get it all in if he wants to. All right, so because he only had like 2,000 left or whatever. All right, so I make my raise here and I get called. All right, let's stop. Let's go back to that hand if we can. Okay, the antes are in play now. So with the antes in play, I'm making it 2.5x because there's more in the pot, so you need to risk a little more. Sometimes I'll make it a little less. It depends. I vary my raise sizes a little now. Um, so I'm raising here with King Jack, and I get called from the big blind. Um, he checks to me. Usually I'm going to be betting this flop, but sometimes I'll check it back. And he shoves on the turn, which typically isn't going to be a bluff. Um, that usually tells me that he wanted to check raise the flop, and because I checked it, he didn't get the opportunity to do that, so he just wants to shove. And I could have the best hand here, but really the only thing I can beat is a bluff. He's going to have an ace here a high percentage of the time, so I just elect to fold it. It's a really risky call to make, and at this point in the tournament, I don't need to make a call like that, so I'm just going to move on to the next hand. Again, you need to have a big hand to play a big pot, and there I just had second pair. My opponent was over betting almost three times the size of the pot, so there's no reason to make a call there that I can see. All right, so moving on. Um, all right, we're dealt 10-6 offsuit in the big blind, and we fold to the big raise. Alright, now we have pocket kings again. Alright, so I'm going to slow this down. We have an opponent making a 3x raise. Based on his stats, it looks like he's an aggressive player, but he plays um, some hands passively. Alright, so this is like a dream scenario in these tournaments. Obviously, we have pocket kings. We have a person with just slightly under our stack shoving into us. So this is obviously a call. And I do just shove it all in here. And I get two calls actually. And so everyone is all in. And you can see we have pocket tens, pocket queens. Um, I'm trying to think if I like this guy's play, this Varen Chi Chen, whatever. We had a 3x raise, and he elects to just shove 6,000. He could have 3-bet to like 1,800, and if I shove and he calls, I think he could get away from it there with pocket tens, and he would still have about 4,000 chips or so, um, a little over 4,000 chips, and he would still be in the tournament. Electing just to shove there makes the hand easier to play, but you occasionally will run into a bigger hand with one of these players in the blinds, or this guy may Soul Mama may have a big hand as well. So I think a smaller 3-bet would have been a better play for him there. With pocket queens here, with a all in and a call, if I was Soul Mama here with 720 lost, I would still have a stack of 3,500. I have folded pocket queens pre-flop in sit and goes before, and I think this might be a spot where I probably could do it. It's pretty tough. I think I could find a fold here if after the shove and the call, especially if he knows I'm a good player. He knows I'm not calling 6,000 here with anything less than ace king at a minimum. Even if with ace king here, I probably would fold ace king here with a 720 bet and a shove for 6,000 in front of me. I'm pretty much all in. The only thing I've invested is the small blind of 120, so I think I would actually fold ace king here to the action in front of me. So this person calling with queens here, I I think both of these players actually could have played the hand better and saved themselves chips, but it worked out for me. I managed to win a huge pot, 17,000, and I eliminated two players, so that's two more bounties for me, which obviously is nice. All right, so now we have a big stack. We have enough chips to definitely make the money. When you have a stack like this, 17,000, almost 18,000, you should definitely be thinking about making the money and obviously winning the tournament as well. So, all right, so with that in mind, we do have the big stack and we want to be aggressive. So here I have a decent hand and I'm in late position. It folded to me, so I raised it to 700, which is again a little less than 2.5x. And my opponent on the button makes it 400 more, basically a mini 3-bet. And for 400 more chips, I'm definitely calling here. With the pot odds I'm getting of 6 to 1, it's definitely a call. So I do call it, and I do hit the 9, but there is an ace out there. So it's basically dependent on what my opponent does. My opponent bets 1,500, leaving himself 2,400 left. It's a pretty gross spot because you're basically playing a guessing game. Does my opponent have an ace or not, or a higher pair than a 9? And I don't like to play guessing games. If I check raise and shove on him here, he's only going to call if he has me beat, and he's going to fold out all his bluffs. So I'm not really getting what I want. I could just call here and see a turn, but then he only has 2,400 left. So I basically called getting good odds pre-flop and was looking to flop big. knowing my opponent, usually a mini 3-bet like this from a weaker opponent means a pretty strong hand. With his bet here on the flop, it looks to me like he doesn't have an ace, but I do think he has a pocket pair that is higher than nines, like tens through kings. So again, it's basically a guessing game, and I would prefer to avoid that. So I'm just going to fold there and maintain my stack. All right, so here we have a raise on the button, and I fold my garbage hand. The opponent did make it a large steal attempt as well, almost 4x. So that tells me this player's Jeff 1905 is probably not the best player. Um, I think he actually pushed the pot button, and that's just risking way too much to win the blinds. There's no reason to do that. All right, so this with this next hand we have Queen six in the small blind, couple limpers, and my hand is too weak to play out of position. Even though I'm getting tremendous pot odds there, it's just too weak of a hand. It has high reverse implied odds, meaning hands that contain a queen that these people are limping have much better kickers than a six on average. So when you do hit a queen, you're going to be paying off multiple streets, and it's just uh, out of position. I'm just going to fold it. Look for better spots. All right, so the blinds just went up to 400. All right, and with a couple limpers, again, I'm going to call here with Queen Jack. And we get an interesting flop, 5, 6, 7, two diamonds. I do have the Queen of Diamonds. Uh, One player jams his stack, which is about a half pot bet. We get a call, and it's an interesting spot. Uh, a lot of small connected hands. There'll be a lot of people, a lot of hands that have two pair or straight here, or better flush draw. So it's kind of a tough spot. I like to call though because, excuse me, I can eliminate a player. I also have overcards and a pretty good flush draw. There's only two flush cards that could beat me. So I want to keep the pot small here. I don't want to play a big pot at this point. And the flush card does come in. If my opponent bets at me a big bet, I'm going to have a very difficult decision. He bets small though. So at this point, I think the best play is just to call because I still am not sure if I have the best hand. So I call, and my opponent, if he shoves on the river, I'm probably going to have to fold. He bets small again though, so it looks like he's trying to milk a little value here, or he's keeping the pot very small because he has a weaker flush. Um, I would tend to think he has a weaker flush here, but this is a spot where you have to be careful. If I shove here, I'm typically only going to get called by hands that can beat me. If he has, say, the eight of diamonds or the nine of diamonds or the jack of diamonds, he's probably going to fold to a shove. So it's, I think, a spot where I might be able to put in a min raise, but then if I get re-raised on top of that, it's going to be a really gross spot. So I elect just to call here, and he does have a weaker flush. And I win the side pot, which is nice. Um, but the player who is short stack did have the ace of diamonds. So um, overall, I won a few chips on the hand, but it's a tough river spot there. I I don't think if I shove there, he's gonna call with the deuce of diamonds. He may if he's a really bad player, but I don't like to raise in those spots because I'm typically only gonna get called by hands that can beat me. I'm not getting paid off by hands that I beat. So I think it's a spot where it's just a call. All right, so I fold the suited ace there to the raise. As the blinds get bigger, it's a call off. 1200 there with a suited ace is almost 10% of my stack. Um, it's it's a very marginal play, so I like to just to fold there. All right, I fold the king five there, as well as 610. All right, we have a raise from early position, so I'm going to fold the ace four offsuit in the big blind there. I would have opened this king 10 if it folded to me on the button, but with the shove in front of me, I am going to need a better hand than king 10 to call there. Um, I would probably call with ace 10 there. Ace jack, definitely. I don't know about ace 10. It's pretty close because he has about 10 big blinds. That'd typically be my range for calling there. Ace jack, definitely. Ace 10 is pretty close. All right, so now we're in the big blind with king 9. The blinds that were getting pretty big now at the 500 level. And I fold to the steal attempt again. All right, so we have a short stack all in, and we have pocket twos. Now, I think a lot of people would call here because this player's going to be shoving all kinds of hands, but again, any pair that he has is going to have us dominated. I do fold, as you can see, um, and we're basically just hoping for a coin flip. And when you're hoping for a coin flip, you should fold because yes, we do want the bounty, but we're going to be coin flipping even with 3-4 offsuit. So there's any unpaired hand he has, we're coin flipping with, and any pair he has us dominated. So, all right, guys. So now we're switching over to the live play, and we can see we're dealt the almighty five deuce offsuit, and we just go ahead and muck that. This actual uh, live play is going to be about 51 minutes long, and it's going to take us down to the final table, and you'll get to see what happens from there. So right now we have a pretty good size stack. I would say at this point we're in the top five of players left, and with this 9-4 offsuit is a pretty easy fold. Um, and with these short stacks, you do want to take some chances at busting them for their bounties, but with 9-4 offsuit there, it's not going to be worth it. I was playing some other tables at the time too, because playing these 90 mans, you never know when you're going to go deep in one. So I was playing a few of them, and this is the one that worked out the best for me. This was actually the first day Full Tilt came out with the $48 plus four knockout tournaments, and as soon as saw those, I started playing them. I asked Full Tilt to make some higher buy-in ones. You can see here there's 22 players left at this point, and we're in about sixth place, I believe it was. But I emailed Full Tilt about a month ago, and they obviously took that to heart and got some higher buy-in 90-man knockout tournaments. So I'll be playing these more often, and wanted to get a strategy video out there because they are quite popular for them. Alright, with Queen 7 of clubs here from middle position, I'm just going to fold that. So at this point, I'm just playing pretty standard, straightforward poker. Nothing out of the line or out of the ordinary that I would have seen so far. Alright, so we have the all-in, and it looks like the short stack doubles up. So the good thing is his bounty is still alive, but then there's another player that's still standing in our way of getting to the final table, so you could go either way on that one. Alright, so here we have a short stack. It's only 1,400 to call into a pot of 5,400, so I call and also have the chance to pick up a bounty. And here with bottom pair and a gut shot, I'm just going to check it and check it down with this guy. No reason to bet here with bottom pair, so I just check it down. And it does turn out being the best hand, so I do get the bounty for that. So that's an example of the importance of paying attention to the short stacks when you're playing these bounty tournaments. If you are multi-tabling, like playing 12 to 16 tables, sometimes that's hard to pay attention to, but that's a spot where some people might fold if they weren't paying attention, but since the short stack was in there and the bounty was alive, it's worth it to take the risk there. Alright, so with 8-6 here on the button, we need to recognize that we do have a 3-better on our left who 3-bets 20%, it looks like. Um, so that is, and the other player 3-bets 6%. So when you do see 3-betters on your left, um, you could argue for me folding here, pre-flop, just letting it go. Um, but I decided to take a stab at it, and it didn't work out, so now I'm just going to let it go. Alright, and Jack Deuce, after I've just got caught trying to steal the blinds, I'm just going to fold it. My image is a little bit hit as far as stealing blinds for an orbit or so, so I'm going to look to have a good hand when I steal there again. Alright, and we can see that this player was 3-betting with ace-4 there, so they are big 3-betters. His 3-bet percentage just went up to 15%, so we definitely got to be aware of that. It's going to limit my steal attempts because they're going to be 3-betting me so much. I can't open with as wide of a range as I normally would, so I'm going to make that adjustment. I folded ace-6 of clubs under the gun there. I may open it if it was a less aggressive table, but with the players on my left, I decided just to fold it. All right, with the min raise there, I'm getting very good odds, but 10-5 is just not good enough of a hand for me to defend there profitably, in my opinion. All right, here with Jack 8. Again, this guy loves to 3-bet, so I could steal here, but I elect just to fold because I'll be out of position for the rest of the hand, so I just let it go. And again, here with ace deuce on the button, this is normally a hand I would raise to attempt to steal the blinds, but because of the 3-betters, I'm going to just let it go. Narrowing my range there to stronger hands. All right, so it looks like at this point we're down to 18 players, and we have a slightly above average stack, I believe, and we're in a pretty good spot. We're still just looking for plus EV spots to get our money in, and not taking too many big risks. So we'll just continue playing our tight aggressive and looking for good spots. All right, so we just lost a player. Tough hand for him. He had top two pair. Now with that player gone, he was one of the big 3-betters that I had to adjust my range for. The two players in the blinds now have very low 3-bet percentages, so now I'm going to go back to my normal range as far as attempting to steal. And with that player gone, I am going to go ahead and try and steal here with Queen Deuce of Hearts. I do still have the 3-better on my left, but taking that other one out of there takes about 15% of the time that I'm going to get 3-bet, which is nice. So I think it becomes profitable to steal with a wider range now. So when you're playing in these bounty tournaments, a lot of the ROI actually comes from the bounties that you get. So um, you got to keep track of those manually on Poker Tracker if that's what you use. You got to go back and enter them. But I would recommend that you do that because it'll show you obviously what you're actually winning, and you'll know what your true ROI is for these bounty tournaments if that's what you like to play. And you can compare it to the other tournaments that you may play, like 45-person tournaments or even single player tournaments. And you can obviously figure out then your hourly rate, which ones you make the most money on. So um, if that's something you don't do, you may want to start doing that because it will have a impact on your bottom line. All right, we have a short stack making it 3x from late position. He does like to steal quite a bit, but ace 5 I think is just a little bit behind his range of hands here. So um, with that considered, I'm just going to fold it. With ace 5 there, even if he has like king jack or even jack 9, he's still going to have about 40%, 35-40% equity, and I'm never going to be a huge favorite there with ace 5. Even if he has ace deuce, we're going to be splitting the pot quite often. So with ace 5 there, it's a close situation, and when it's pretty close like that, I would rather just fold it and look for a bigger plus EV spot. Wow, both players had kings. Alright, so here we have ace 10 offsuit on the button. Alright, and we have a tight raiser, the big stack at the table, raising into us. He's from middle to late position. He only raises 5% of his hands though, and ace 10 is definitely behind a 5% range. So I'm actually just going to fold this. It's pretty tight fold, but I don't want to play up against the big stack with a marginal hand, and he's actually pretty tight pre-flop raiser. So with all those things considered, I'm just going to let it go again and look for a better spot. I'm still in the top 9, so I'm on pace to make the final table. So no reason to take a big gamble there with ace 10. All right, 9-7 there. Sometimes I would open that, but with the short stack behind me with only 5,000 and the other short stack with 9,000, uh, they're going to be shoving on me quite often because they're looking to double up or get eliminated. And 9-7 is not going to be a hand that I want to play there because of that. All right, so you can see we're in 7th place and still in a good spot. Here with Jack 3, we're just going to let it go from middle position. Alright, looks like we're going to have another all-in situation. And it's a coin flip. Alright, ace 3 offsuit from early position. I'm just going to fold that. Alright, so SV Walks or whatever his name is. He limped with pocket kings in the small blind, and the player in the big blind raised it, and SV Walks was trapping him and got it all in, and ended up getting knocked out though. I like his play though with limping in with kings there. That's a play that I'll make sometimes against the player that I think may raise if I limp there. So I like his play. He got unlucky though. From this guy's perspective too, I liked his play as well. The player who got lucky, 8 ZOU8 or whatever. He Most people when they limp there from the small blind have a weak hand, and he was just being aggressive, and the majority of the time he's just going to take it down right there pre-flop. So I actually kind of like his play as well. All right, now here we have this guy who looks like a good player shoving into us, and he's going to be doing this with a huge range of hands. I think King 7 is ahead of that range of hands, so I'm actually going to call here. Um, and it's just he's going to be doing it with, I would estimate, 70 to 80% of hands. When I first started making videos, people weren't pushing that wide, but now they are. So you need to call wider, meaning you have to call with a larger range of hands. And King 7 suited there is one of those hands, and I did manage to take it down and got another knockout bounty for that. And you can see he was pushing with a garbage hand, so he may even be pushing 100% of hands there. So I think I made a good call. It's not an easy call to make. It's not fun calling it off there with King 7, but you want to be doing what's the most plus EV, and um, I think you got a call there with King 7. If we look it up on SNG Power Tools, I think it'd be a profitable call. Alright, here with Queen 5, I'm just going to let it go. I still do have one massive 3-better behind me. So I like to trap those people, the people who like to 3-bet a lot with big hands, by just kind of waiting for a good hand and then using their aggression against them. And hopefully we'll get into a situation like that here while we're playing. People ask me all the time what stats I use for Poker Tracker 3, and the first number you see in blue is the number of hands I played with them. The second number in green is VPIP. The third number in red is pre-flop raise. The white number is 3-bet percentage. The yellow number is attempt to steal. The purple number is fold to steal. The orange number C-bet is C-bet percentage, and the bottom pink number is fold to C-bet. Alright, so that was a pretty easy fold with 7-6 offsuit. We got another big all in, and this one is not very close. Alright, so we got a new short stack at the table, and he's on our right, so we're going to be looking to try and eliminate him in bounty tournaments again. That's a very good situation when you get a short stack on your right. Unfortunately, we didn't have a hand there, so we couldn't call, but you want to look for those opportunities because they add ROI to your obviously win percentage. All right, King 6 of diamonds here. We could open, and I am going to go ahead and do it. And we take it down. All right, having just stole the last hand, I'm probably just going to fold this Jack 5 of diamonds. Yeah, now it's definitely going to be a fold. All right, King Deuce offsuit. I'm going to throw it to the muck. All right, the blinds just went up. I'm going to fold the 5-6 offsuit. 1,000, 2,000, so they're going to be a big issue for everyone left in the tournament. I have 26,000 chips and now 24, so I only have 12 big blinds, and I'm one of the upper stacks. I'm probably about right at the average. So the average player has only 12 big blinds. That makes it a pretty big pre-flop game. You should be pretty much shoving when you have 12 big blinds. Um, just shoving all in is your pre-flop raise. There are times when you can go ahead and make a normal size raise, but for the most part, you should just be shoving all in. Alright, so I'm in 5th place. There's 11 people left. Now this is a perfect scenario. We have our 3-better on the left. I'm going to raise like a normal amount here and look to get him to 3-bet on top of me, and I will happily get it all in against him with pocket 9s here. He does 3-bet, and we're going all in. And he does call, and he shows pocket 8s. So we can see again he has a wide 3-bet percentage, and pocket 9s were far ahead of that range. I, I wouldn't be surprised if he was 3-betting pocket 2s there. So nice double up there. We now have we might even be the biggest stack in the tournament. So we can obviously be aggressive here, and we're going to look to take advantage of people waiting around on the bubble. I could have stole there, but I figured with the person on my left having just lost a big all-in, he would just shove over top of me with basically any 2 cards. So I decided to fold that one. And I am the big stack in the tournament now, so hopefully we can make a deep run in this. And so here we are with hand for hand play. So I'm going to pause the video until that's over. Alright, and with deuce 4, again, I'm just going to let it go. I did say I want to be aggressive, but you got to be selectively aggressive. There are still 3 other people at this table that have stacks that will just easily shove over top of one of my opening raises. And at this point, I'm raising less than 2.5 times the big blind, simply because the smaller raise. Here I'm going to go ahead and just shove on this guy because I think he's limping mostly weak hands there. And with being on the bubble, again, I can put pressure on him and get him to fold. So again, I'm raising less than 2.5x just because I'll get the same folds that I would, but I'm risking less. So here with ace 8, I'm out of position. It's offsuit, and it's just going to be a headache to play post flop, so I'm just going to fold it. Like on this flop, when I have ace 8 there and I'm out of position, if I check to him and he bets, I don't really want to check raise because he could have a better kicker. Um, if I do check raise, he's just going to fold out all of his bluffs, so I could check call there. But if he has a better kicker, he's just going to be putting all kinds of pressure on me, and it's just going to be a tough hand to play. You basically have to flop an ace and an 8 to be happy about it, and it's out of position, so I think it's just best to fold it. So here again, I'm being aggressive. I'm putting on the pressure because we are now down to 10 players. Hand for hand play is in progress. Alright, 8-4 offsuit is a little too weak for me to raise there. You could argue for raising any two cards there, and it may be profitable in this situation to do that, but with weaker holdings, I prefer just to take the conservative route. Alright, so we have a little stop and go action, and both players have ace high, which is kind of surprising. And it looks like the bubble is over. So now we're at the final table, and the first hand we have is Jack 7. So we're going to fold that, and we can see that we are now in second place as the final table starts. And we do have position on the big stack, which is nice, and we have an all-in right away, and both players have the same hand. So you can see there are some short stacks here, though. One player was 6,500, and the rest all have 10 big blinds or slightly more. But everyone is pretty much short stacked at this time. Even me and the kid 3 only have like roughly 18, or no, 20. We have a little over 20 big blinds. So that's not significant, really. We're not that much farther better shape than everyone else. And we can see this ace 10 ran down the pocket aces, so that's unfortunate for that player, but we move one step up on the pay scale. Usually it takes a minute for my stats to load up on a table, so hopefully those will be coming. Alright, here they are, so that'll definitely help us. Alright, Pale 73 here limps, and I think he's doing that with a lot of weak hands, so I'm going to go ahead and raise it up. And if he shoves on me, I'm going to fold, but I think he's going to be folding here 92% of the time. So I think it's profitable just to raise there with basically any two cards in that situation. Alright, so we have a player from middle position, make it 4 times the big blind, so I'm just going to fold ace 7 suited, and it would have been crushed. So pretty easy fold there for me. So we now are down to 7 players, and with his king deuce suited on the button, I'm not going to be able to call the raise from early position from the short stack. Alright, that's again a simple fold, 4-10 offsuit with a raise in front. Alright, the big stack 3 bets and gets the player to fold, so maybe we got to make a note here. This player, Pale 73, doesn't seem like the best player in the world. He made a 3x raise and folded. With only he only has 10 big blinds left. So again, he's risking more than he needs to attempt to steal blinds there. I would raise to about 5,500 there, a little over a min raise. So he could have saved himself approximately 1,700 chips there just on that one time. And if you do that for all your raises, it obviously adds up to a lot of chips that you save when you have to fold. So here with pocket fives, I'm going to go ahead and raise it up, like I said, to my standard 5550. Alright, and we hit a gin flop. We flop a set. And um, at this point, I think obviously I have the best hand. I'm just going to check it because this flop, a lot of times I'll check ace king, ace queen here, and this player will think he can bet me off it on the turn. So I'm going to check call here. It's not a very good river card for me. He could have been doing that with a flush draw. So if he bets here, I think I'm just going to call. Because if I raise, I'm only going to get called by a flush, and he's going to fold out all of his bluffs and everything else that I can beat already. So I think the best play here is just to call. It's a pretty small bet. It'd be tough to tell. I mean, he's going to have a flush here a lot, and he's also going to have bluffs. So I think it's best just to call. All right, and he was bluffing. He had a gut shot, so I think I played it well. By checking the flop, I induced a bluff on the turn and river that I wouldn't have been able to get had I just c-bet. So it's important to mix up your play, and I would also be checking there with ace king, ace queen, ace high type hands, and looking to get a free card on the turn. And to counterbalance that, I need to be checking behind sets sometimes and strong hands as well, so that people can't just bet at me on the turn and think that they're going to take it down because I'm going to have strong hands there a lot. All right, so now we're in solid second place, and we can look to get some bounties from some of the short stacks, and also obviously increase our stack and look to get down to heads up play. All right, so this is a pretty easy fold with a raise and an all in front. And there is a call. He called it off of king queen. I don't really like that call. That player, uh, the kid 3, his 3-bet percentage is 5%, and he's going to have ace king and ace queen there a lot, and even pocket queens, pocket kings, pocket aces there. So he's going to be dominated quite often. I don't think I would have called there with king queen. He did manage to double up, so it worked out for him that time though. Alright, so we have a very short stack going in here. A lot of times I would raise to isolate, but with 3 deuce offsuit, I don't even stand a good chance to beat the short stack, so I just elected to fold it. Alright, so we're pretty quickly down to 4 players, and we're still, again, in a solid second place position. We have 2 short stacks at about 26,000 each, and we right now don't want to tangle with the big stack because he can send us home in 4th place here, and that would be a big disaster at this point, in my opinion. So we definitely want to get rid of the short stacks and look to avoid the big stack. So with king 8 here, I'm just going to fold it. All right, ace 10 suited. The big stack is attempting to steal 62% of the time, so this is far ahead of his range. So I'm going to 3-bet here. I could just shove, but I'm only going to get called by bigger hands, so I'm just going to 3-bet small here, making it 19,500. It's about 2.5 times the size of his bet, and he does snap fold, so we can see he's opening quite light. I 10-8 suited there is normally a hand I would open, but again, I don't want to mess with the big stack. I want to wait until at least one of these other players is gone, if at all possible. If I do get a plus EV situation, I'm not going to pass it up against him, but um, in marginal spots, I'll let it go. All right, so this is unfortunate. One of the short stacks is doubled up, but obviously we still are in second place, and there is still one other short stack here. All right, so again with King Deuce here, I'm just gonna let it go. All right, the player in the big blind is going to be calling quite often because he only has um, 5 big blinds. So with 4 high there, I think it's best just to fold it. All right, and this player, I folded ace-5 suited to him. It's not going to be ahead very often, and when it is, it's going to be marginally ahead. So I opted just to fold it there. Alright, we have another all-in, and it looks like the short stack is way ahead again. Wow, the other player got lucky again, though, with the flush, splitting the pot. Alright, again, I think he's just limping weak hands here, so I'm just going to shove it. And he does call, and he has ace-6. I don't really like his play. Limping with ace-6 and calling an all-in is just a bad play, in my opinion. Um, yes, he was ahead, and he got it in as a slight favorite against me, but alright, and here I'm just going to shove on the short stack. My hand is just barely good enough, in my opinion, to go ahead and do that, and he does fold. Um, I don't mind trapping there if he had a hand like aces or kings, but with ace-6 offsuit, he should have just raised it himself, and we might not have played that confrontation had he have done that. But because he limped in with it, I saw it for weakness, so I jammed on him, and now he's out. And it helps to get lucky, obviously, once in a while. Obviously, here it looks like I'm going to get unlucky, as I do. So the poker gods giveth and taketh. But so here we're in a pretty close tie for first right now with one really short stack. So obviously we want to get rid of the short stack and get down to heads up and fight it out. So with 8 deuce here, I'm just going to let it go. Alright, again, 7-10, I'm just going to fold it. Alright, 6-4, just going to let it go. Alright, so the short stack doubles up. He's now got 34,000. He still has less than 10 big blinds, so I'd expect him to just shove or fold with a wide range of hands. And again, I get a garbage hand in the big blind, so I have to fold. Alright, I haven't attempted to steal yet three-handed, so I'm going to steal here with 10-8 offsuit. And I get shoved down by the short stack. who has actually been playing pretty tight. So I'm gonna fold there to his shove. All right, and this opponent in the big blind attempts to steal 60%. So I'm just gonna shove on his open, and he picks up a hand this time with pocket queens. And wow, I hit my ace on the river. Nice, but I do think it is a profitable shove there because he's opening 60% of hands. And here I have the big stack now, so I'm just going to shove on this guy. And here with pocket nines again, I'm just going to put both players all in. Wow, and we run into pocket aces. That's unfortunate. Alright, so he's back in it with 63,000 now. Alright, here with king 6, my opponent has well less than 10 big blinds, so I'm just going to shove them all in. And the antes are becoming very significant now as well, with 1800 in antes every hand. As the antes kick in, you got to be more aggressive and attempt to steal the blinds a little more often than you normally would. Alright, so with 5 deuce, I have to fold there to the all in. Alright, again, I have a good enough hand here just to shove my opponent all in. He's getting short stack. Alright, and he does call with ace 10. And it held up for him, so I still have the big stack at 130,000, but there is now, both players have slightly over 10 big blinds, about 12. So I'm just going to shove here with queen king. And they both want to move up to the next pay scale, so to the second place spot, I should say. So they're going to be folding all of their marginal hands. And here with pocket sevens, with one all in and a call, I would have called the first all in myself, but I'm not going to call 2 all ins with the small pair. And we can see that I would have had to dodge 3 overcards. I would have made quads and won the tournament, but you can't be results oriented. With 2 all ins in front of me, I think it's a fold there with pocket sevens. The first all in could be a lot of hands, but the second one is going to be a good hand. Alright, so here I've hit bottom pair and I c-bet on the flop. When this player insta calls, it makes me think he's either got a draw or some type of hand, so I'm just going to check it back and check it down. And I take it down. It turns out he had 9-10, so he had a gut shot. I don't really like his call on the flop. You can see when I'm playing heads up, I min raise is my opening raise. Alright, so here I'm just going to check the 4 deuce after he limps. If he makes a habit of limping from the small, or from the big blind, or from the small blind, I should say, excuse me, then I'll start raising him up with any 2 cards. But at this point, that was the first time he's done it, so we'll see what he does in the future. Alright, so he is raising and limping, so I'm going to tend to think that his limps are weaker hands, so I'm going to start raising them up once in a while. Alright, and here I turn an open-ender, so I'm going to bet it out. It's unlikely my opponent has much since he checked the flop, and I do take it down. And I'm going to be opening approximately 80 to 90% of hands from the button with a min raise. Alright, and he leads out on this flop. If he's bluffing, I want him to continue to bluff. If he had a flush draw, he just got there, obviously, or 10-9. And another club on the river is not good for me, so I'm just going to check it down. And he was betting a 6, so he was betting a worse hand. So I like how I played the hand. I let him continue bluffing, and I kept the pot small. So here he's getting close. He's only got 13 big blinds, so I just shove him in there. Alright, with 5 deuce again, I'm just going to check. And just give it up on that flop. Alright, again, I'm just going to ship it in here. The hand is strong enough. Alright, again, going with the theme, he's limping weaker hands. I'm going to just shove it in. Alright, so he limped in ace queen. He trapped me there. And it held up for him. So he's now doubled up. Maybe I could have been more aware of the fact that he may limp a stronger hand because I had shoved the 2 previous hands, but I still like my shove because he had been limping all weaker hands, and as far as I know, he was min-raising his stronger hands. So here with pocket fives, I think I'm just going to shove it in. It's well ahead of his opening range here. And he does call with ace-6 offsuit, which is surprising. I definitely would have folded that. It did hold up for him, which is unfortunate for me. He won a coin flip basically for the tournament, but nothing I can do about that. I think I made the right play with shoving there with pocket fives. His call was not the greatest in my opinion. It wasn't a horrible call, but it wasn't a great call either. Anyways, I do have 52,000. I'm going to fold the 6-2 now. So I do have somewhat of a chance here. And if he shoves, alright, with ace-9 here, I'm just going to shove it in after he limps. Alright, and we can see he limped, folded that one. So he is limping some weaker hands. Alright, and king-4, with me only having 10 big blinds, I'm going to ship it in there. Alright, I'll definitely call an all-in here if he shoves. He doesn't, so I'll shove for him. And he has ace-queen. So we ran into 2 bigger hands each time. We did get second place though, so that is a nice result. I hope you guys learned some advanced tips on these 90 mans. This is Pimpin' Donks. I'll see you at the tables.